Well, I would say it's a shorter list to say what isn't randomized. Level layouts are not randomized, nor are the main character physics or the item 2 and 3 behaviors. Just about everything else that can be shuffled is shuffled.
And we got Kammesennin going to Quickman stage, and Charlieboy with some old school NES screen shenanigans, starting with Metal Man, and we starting off with moles on the screen. A little bit of an annoying enemy, but it looks like right now the moles are one shot. So yes, the amount of damage it takes to the Buster is randomized. So the fact that the moles are Buster Buster one shot is a pretty comfortable thing. So what do you think of what we've seen on Quickman's and on Kammesennin's side, Chungus?
Looks like the Sniper Joes are a bit beefy, giving him a little bit of a trouble. Making his way through, though, no major issues so far. Just about to get to the second force beam drop.
So yeah, Quickman and Metal Man are some pretty good choices, especially given, well, it was a good thing until we got our chicken spawning on Charlieboy's end, who looks a bit tanky on his side as well, just struggling to make ends meet. But these stages normally would be relatively easy stages, and they give very easy E-tanks very early on. So these will be some very notable easy spots, well, assuming the randomizer decides to play nice.
Given that Charlieboy has already popped an E-tank in this level, I would say playing nice is probably off the table.
Almost taking a dip to the pit, just having just enough not bad so it doesn't even worry about it. But Kammesennin's the first one to get into Quick Door. Charlieboy not too far behind going to Metal Door. So in Quickman's room, we find ourselves a crash sighting coming up on Charlieboy's end on Metal Man's screen. Wow, we got some interesting situation. Oh, that is full dumb crash.
Somebody wake him up. Is he? Do you know he's supposed to be fighting?
You think he would be. Meanwhile, Airman was sighted in Metal Man's room, and he was just as simple. So both our boys taking these boys out very quickly. So we got Kammesennin going to Bubble Man, what man on Charlieboy's side. So once again, the deal for this tournament is we have a couple of differences. So first and foremost, as you can see, our Robot Master screen is completely blank, so none of our runners will know which Robot Master they're going to be entering. But in addition to this is a pure zipless tournament, so the zips that you would see in like an 80% run, especially like the bubble zip you see on the ceiling that Kammesennin is about to skip, those are out of the question. If you see any kind of zips made, there's going to be a time penalty for a few seconds up to a full-fledged disqualification if a major zip is attempted and successfully done. So right now, Kammesennin is what we normally would like to call the walk of shame, but now it's the walk of requirement as he's now going through a pretty interesting area of Bubble Man stage.
Let's see birds down here. It's quite an interesting wrinkle to throw at him in this stage. Can actually work to your advantage if the spikes sneak up on you. Meanwhile, Charlieboy finds the Joe army in the treehouse.
Yeah, you're not inviting Club Joe. They pretty much just want to just shoot him out, just shoo him away, but Charlieboy's pretty much having none of it. Taking some dings along the way, but gets out of the treehouse, well, not unscathed, but not dead.
And you can walk away from. Don't know if he's going to walk away from the next one, though. He's getting pretty low on health. And these can take more than one shot.
Charlieboy does a little bit too slow to react to the blockies as they were starting to reform. Meanwhile, in Bubble Man's room, we got Quickman pretty much sighted in here. Every Robot Master in Bubble Man's room is subject to water physics, so naturally Quickman jumps unnaturally high, but he gets his Robot Master down, and right now, just for that few little bits, Kammesennin now has the advantage of being a Robot Master up.
And we may see that advantage expand, because what we might be seeing here is evidence of the Buster-only experience paying off for him. Charlieboy could find a weakness for the tin cans if allowed, but for this race he's not going to be able to. He's got to find another way through.
pretty astute observation. Kammesennin is pretty much a very staunch believer in the Buster usage. Pretty much every time he entered the tournament, as long as it wasn't forced on him, he will stick with Buster only. So he knows all the tricks and trades of trying to get through most situations with the Buster. Meanwhile, Charlieboy, as you can see, he's struggling just a little bit, just barely getting to Woodman's room with 2 pips of health. Well, assuming you can see it with the screen being as it is on his end.
He managed those last 2 Sniper Joes pretty handily. I was beside myself with worry.
Taking the quick death on Bubbleman screen as Bubbleman's in the wood room. Pretty safe to assume that was going to happen just to get a full tank of health and restart the fight. Meanwhile, Kammesennin is dealing with our atomic cocks. They're 3 shots, so these should be manageable on Kammesennin. Meanwhile, Charlieboy expertly handles Bubbleman, and we're just pretty much going stride for stride. Charlieboy starting his 3rd Robot Master stage in Bubble. Meanwhile, Kame is getting close to his fight with Airman in Metal Man's room.
Yeah, which I recall was, it wasn't Crashman. Kammesennin fought him. I think Charlieboy's been here, right? That's right, it was Airman. I blinked and missed it.
Yeah, this should be a very quick fight because I noticed when I was focused on Kammesennin on his fight, the Airman fight Charlieboy's in was quick and done, just like Kammesennin did. So, about the Robot Masters, since we are playing on the easy difficulty for this tournament for the sake of accessibility, there are 4 Robot Masters that are particularly Buster soft weak. So instead of doing the usual 2 damage, they will get up to 4. So we find at least Bubbleman and Airman are at least 2 of the 4 Robot Masters that has that weakness. And right now, we're pretty much just swapping between all 3 Robot Master stages as we're pretty much covering no new territory between both our runners.
Yep, Kammesennin got the bad news on the first screen of Woodman. Pretty lucky health drop there to help him get through it.
So once again, thanks to the requirements of Buster only, you gotta pretty much limit shoot these hot dogs. Kammesennin getting a little force of habit on Kammesennin and almost zipping, but just having the presence of mind not to continue on through it. That probably would have been a few second time loss since it would have been a short zip. Luckily, Kammesennin was able to catch himself on time.
Yep, glad he managed to catch himself there. It would be pretty tragic to lose this lead due to an accidental force of habit.
It wouldn't have been too bad. I mean, like I said, it would have been just a few seconds since it was a short zip. But we see Charlieboy dealing with Quick Man. Can only take 1 hit, so you got to be careful. This Quick Man is a speedy boy and the underwater buoyancy proving to be fatal for this particular fight. Charlieboy takes another loss and got to do the whole fight all over again.
First one too. Quickman was pretty low on health, which just means Charlieboy lost more time on that death.
Yeah, being so long on a Robot Master fight winds up adding up pretty significantly when you take a death. But Charlieboy having a much easier time around in this fight. Meanwhile, Kammesennin in a very similar health deficit as Charlieboy was, but he actually has E-tanks to compensate that health loss and gets it right back. So Kammesennin not only saving up on time for Charlieboy thanks to his use of E-tanks, but pretty much once again it's the experience factor with the Buster that just put Kammesennin just more and more further ahead of Charlieboy.
Speaking of more ahead of Charlieboy, this may be another place where the Buster only requirement may get the better of CB because he's in the Crashman stage, and I believe he's required to ride the elevators here.
Yeah, but we also hadn't found any items regardless, so even if he wanted to go through this stage, he would not have anything and decides to take the tactical game over. I'm pretty sure he might go to a different stage. Yeah, he's gonna go to a different stage for a little bit. Although if you really kind of think about it, it more than likely just delaying the inevitable since he's gonna be doing that stage Buster only anyway. So
Yeah,
Kind of a questionable decision, but maybe good to clear off the head and just save it for later.
plus it's probably better to take a planned game over than an accidental one. And being on one life going on a crash man like that could have been ugly.
Meanwhile, Kammesennin going to some new territory, Airman stage, where we got one of our randomizer favorites, Space Monkeys. And they're not going to space, they're one shot with the Buster. So they're pretty much grounded before they leave off the ground.
Good to see a tradable airman stage after the ordeal that was Woodman.
So we got Charlieboy going to the Joe corridor with some springs attaching Quickman stage. Once again, we saw Kame do this stage a little bit sooner, so we know that an extremely dumb crash is waiting for Charlieboy. It should be a relatively easy fight. On the other hand, for Kammesennin, he's dealing with our dollar store Metroids that normally would be quite a pain in an area like this, but yet again, we're finding quite a bit of one-shot buster shots for some of these enemies. Right now, the seed is definitely coming up all Kame in this particular venture.
It appears to be. He was also making those short hops across the gaps under the clouds, wisely missing any Dime Star Metroids he may have otherwise gotten bodied by.
So we have a Metal Man sighting in air. It looks like he's our third Robot Master that's susceptible to a South Week Buster. Charlieboy finding Crash and a little bit more energetic than he was last time. A little bit more activity on Charlieboy's screen from Crash. So it's not a 100% dumb crash, but oh boy, that was really close on Charlie's end. He definitely could not have taken one hit from either a body or a Crash Bomber. So Charlieboy coming up clutch and getting out of that fight, and he's following suit on Kame's heels with both of them going to Flash.
Never doubted him for a second. And it looks like they are now even, so Kammesennin's lead can be fairly well quantified by about 15-20 seconds, I'd say.
We'll see. We still don't have Airman done on Charlieboy's end. Some of the inexperience of Charlieboy probably just putting him just one Robot Master behind Kammesennin, but this is still the randomizer. Just about anything, if anything, could happen, especially when we got Wily stages looming for our runners.
Oh yeah, good catch. Yeah, who's the tracker? Why didn't they let me know that there was another stage behind?
I will believe that would normally be your job. I
Oh,
guess that's the some of the issues of being in the front row rather than being backstage.
Kammesennin got hit by a floating burger and knocked off the E-tank level.
Yeah, these tellies being Buster immune, giving Kammesennin a little bit of trouble. Charlieboy, on the other hand, skillfully decides to tank each and every hit and is able to get himself a free E-tank. Meanwhile, we got a heat shot. Go ahead, Chungus.
Oh, no, just a good job on Charlieboy's part, and he knew that E-tank too. I think it's the only one he's got.
Yeah, we got a Heatman sighting, and H. Bison is being a slow burner this time around, and clips Kammesennin right down. But this is why we kind of dislike the slow heat, the slow burn, because he's just slowly creeping right closer to him. The fact that he's not Buster South Week really makes this a very long and sluggish fight. So this is definitely not something you would see or like to see in a Buster only scenario. At least Charlieboy was able to take it out very cleanly, while Kammesennin after his death is doing much better.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's hard to deal with in Buster only. You could typically just hang out underneath him and throw up a Metal Blade or a Leaf Shield, but not today.
Charlieboy finding Heatman, Kammesennin following suit. So we got our blockies pretty much being a... Oh, and we got Lag Fairies in here. This is not the best looking Heatman stage that you want to deal with. So we're going to see how our Buster boys going to be able to handle this.
Yeah, it could be a bit of a mixed blessing. On the one hand, Lag-Fibians are a bad time, but the tadpoles don't hit very hard, so you might see some tactical damage boosting rather than taking hits by the stacks of tin cans.
very wise observation because the tadpoles, since just damage taken from enemies is not a randomized attribute, the tadpoles will always do 1 pip of damage. So it'd be a very wise decision to take damage from the tadpoles as opposed to doing what Kammesennin did and taking hit from the blockies would do immense damage.
Man, he's getting close to the checkpoint, but also close to death. Oh, and it gets dunked.
The tadpoles being the mixed blessing, they help you in damage boosting, but damage boosting in the wrong ways can send you to a cold oblivion.
Speaking of which, Charlieboy's fighting Shotmans in Yoku block aisle, and this could get rough as well. I guess it's probably Shotman, isn't it?
But yeah, Charlieboy, the first dealing with our Yoku blocks, this being a Buster only match, doing the Yoku blocks is a requirement, especially when we found item 2 much earlier. So yeah, even though he has item 2, you can't use it. Buster rules.
Yep, and it's making up some time on Kammesennin though, who's just about to make it to the checkpoint.
Yeah, Kammesennin have taken a couple of deaths in this match, but we'll see what happens. This is probably going to wind up being more interesting as the race continues. Well, in the meanwhile, we're about to see who's in our heat room as Charlieboy enters the chambers, and we find Flashman in heat room.
And Buster Susceptible number 4, quick and painless.
I guess with safe to prove that due with the process of elimination, we know that Crash should be in not Crash, but Wood should be in Crash. But before we do that, Charlieboy is gonna go to Air, while Kammesennin, once he's done with Heat, he's gonna have to go to Crash, where Woodman should be awaiting.
And much could be decided by Woodman's AI. I know it's very variable and it can get pretty rough. Especially Buster only again. Can't use Crash Bomb, see if you can just shoot through the loose shield.
Charlieboy seeing the good news of our lovable space monkeys. Of course, naturally just plucking their... Well, he let one live, but yeah, once again, with them being one shy, some of those space monkeys got immediately grounded and terminated. Now, dealing with our Dollar Store Metros in the second half, we're going to see how Charlieboy adapts to this.
Yeah, this could get pretty crowded and rough. Looks like he's handling well so far. Didn't get sniped by that Shotman. Always good to see. And here's Flashman for Kammesennin.
Should be a relatively easy Buster fight for Kammesennin. Flash being Buster soft weak in this go around of the seating. And there we go. Now we got Crashman to go for Kammesennin. Charlieboy should be facing Metalman in Airman's room if I can recall correctly. So Charlieboy not too far behind. The mistakes that Kammesennin made really close the gap for Charlieboy, but we still got quite a lengthy way to go, and these lag amphibians are not going to help with things.
Yep, looks like Charlieboy made up about a half a stage or so. And Kammesennin, well, he's going to have a hard time here.
There are situations where you may have to use a weapon in situations where it might be hard to use Buster. Kammesennin proved that it was capable here, but Charlieboy might think it be impossible on his end. One of the things you got to remember, because this is a randomizer, our runners will not know how far behind or ahead they are. So Charlieboy being here already and knowing that this blocky is in the way, we're gonna see how he's very good idea using the lightning bolt from the lightning lord, using the iframes to get by the blocky so it doesn't take too much damage.
Excellent damage boost, and we're seeing some jump rope from Kammesennin as the tadpoles are trying to get him.
And even at this low health, taking hits for the tadpole is gonna be extremely dangerous. He's gonna want to hold for a life drop very soon because he cannot take 2 more hits from these tadpoles.
Very nice dodging, though. He's gotten through this one, I think, safely.
But Kammesennin still has one more elevator screen to go with our lag amphibians. We're going to see these mini frogs are going to wind up being treacherous.
Oh, there's a 2-point drop.
He can't get it. It's just far enough the screen so he can't get it.
I am so far on the edge of my seat, the entire couch is statistically insignificant.
But he's able to survive with that one pip of health. So he's able to get to the checkpoint just safe enough in order to tank the death if need be. Meanwhile, Charlieboy, it looked like he might have been struggling just a little bit. Hasn't been paying attention to his screen, focusing on Kamme's side, who was kind of struggling a little bit.
Yeah, doing well. Looks like Charlieboy has been cleaning across the elevators too. Really easy to get knocked off and lose a lot of time here, but so far he's been all right. And appears to be in the clear.
Meanwhile, now we got to deal with the second most treacherous area, the Crashman stage with Buster. The crash climb can be very dangerous given the randomized enemy sets, but look like Kamme's gonna take the chance to keep going up for the big health drop, which is a wise decision. You have no idea what could be coming up on these ladders. There could be a number of enemies that could really just block you out of ladders. So wise decision on Kamme's end, and a very heads up play, while Charlieboy is beginning his crash climb very soon.
Yep, the only thing slower than climbing ladders is dying on ladders. Another Buster-only wrinkle here is they've got items 1 and 2, but this E-Tank, if they want it, they got to go back down the ladder for it. Kammesennin opts not to.
Kammesennin, knowing his health situation, well, his life situation, decides to go for the very tough ladder jump for that 1-up. Once again, another heads-up play by Kammesennin just to make sure he doesn't get into a game-over situation. Meanwhile, Charlieboy, he might skip. He's gonna skip it. So, of course, the trade-off for getting that life is he's gonna waste a little bit of time because he has to go out of his way for the 1-up. And as I said before, now we got ourselves our final Robot Master, a Woodman sighting.
Looks like a fairly vanilla behavior. And Buster's susceptible. All right, and we're on to 8 Robot Masters down.
And just for the sake of the record, we found out item 3 last here, but that's beside the point, as once again, the greatest eyebrows in video game history is in front of our screen, and that loud squelching noise is the sign for us to play our favorite game in the Mega Man 2 Randomizer community. So, for those that aren't in the know, we got ourselves a Mega Dragon coming up. It has a randomized color, and it has a randomized weakness. For those in chat, you know what to do. Guess the color of the Mega Dragon, and for extra bonus points, guess that weakness as well. 2% Chungus, as one of the people that doesn't get up here very often, it's my esteemed honor to let you go first.
Well, I typically go with something ridiculous like ultraviolet and weak to harsh language, but given that I am now in the commentator booth, I feel like I must give this task the gravitas it is properly required. I'm going to say he is gray and green and weak to Crash Bomb.
Meanwhile, I'm gonna say we're gonna have ourselves a red dragon this time around, and the weakness, shout outs to one of our major commentary contributors, Frico. In his absence, we're gonna use Bubble Lead.
Kammesennin doing something I've never seen done before and using item 1 to get up the initial ladder in this climb.
Well, there are item requirements in the Wily stages, so it's not too far the way to see these items being forced upon our runners. So we're gonna see how Kammesennin and Charlieboy, who has caught up by the way, we're gonna see how they act in this in a screen after this one, because there can be some very nasty enemies that can block ladders here. We're gonna see first on Kammesennin. Oh,
it's frogs.
Boy. This is not pretty.
All right, fortunately Metal Blade's susceptible, so they're able to get through it as long as he doesn't take a hit and die.
Charlieboy trying to use Flash not lasting all that long, and he's just pretty much just taking hit after hit.
Kammesennin only has no more health though, so that's his only option, and no E-Tanks for either runner, I might add.
This has become literally neck and neck all of a sudden. It's brother versus brother. Proto Man and Mega Man pretty much almost stride for stride as they come right across the Mega Dragon. Of course, the more important question is, what color is he? That is almost word for what you was gonna get. You just didn't get the green.
Blue is just discount green.
Don't work with semantics with me, boy.
All right, Buster and Heat not working. Airman finds a hit though.
Yeah, Kami got to be very careful. He can't afford to take a hit. Charlieboy can, but Kammesennin with that 1 HP warrior mentality, able to beat the Mega Dragon. Charlieboy not too far behind. We got ourselves a hot race at both of our runners heading to Wally 2.
2 seconds separate them. This is amazing.
Charlieboy opted to go for the energy, while Kammesennin is not worrying about it. Well, he decides to get that one, but yeah, very close between our two runners right now. Just a couple of seconds difference. Once again, we got our force items since the Wally stages are made as they are. But one of the caveats, we know there's some walls here. They can't check them. They're not allowed to check the wall weaknesses. They're gonna have to force this. They're gonna have to force to skip the E-tanks and the life here, because that's how Buster only goes. So they can't get them. So
Both
they're
of them
gonna be. Go ahead.
Oh, just mentioning both of them took a pot shot at the walls with the Buster on the way down to at least eliminate that possibility for Wily 4.
But yeah, but thanks to the fact that they can even check those walls early, they're going to be down one safety. Both our runners have one E-tank that they got from this stage, and Pico can be very nasty. Hopefully they could be it could be Buster Week. Each Wally boss has a chance to be Buster Week, but let's see what happens.
Charlieboy appearing to be about 3 frames ahead at the moment. That could change at any time.
Luck be a lady tonight. We got ourselves a Buster Week Pico fight.
This may turn it back in Kammesennin's favor, who might get the kill on the last block just a little bit quicker.
I don't know. Charlieboy's running stride for stride. They are literally going Buster on Buster. Kammesennin with the awkward miss though.
I have now, for the first time in my life, committed the commentator curse, and I am now drunk with power.
We're pretty much in sync to Wally 3, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an interesting situation as we get deeper into the Wally Abyss. And Wally Stage 3 can be a bit of a sleeper killer if things don't go in their favor.
Looks like Joe's in the sewer system. Not too bad so far.
Yeah, this seems to be a fairly tame sewer system. Kammesennin, at least on the restream, is the first one to make the drop. Charlieboy still not too far behind, just a screen behind. So once again, we are just Kammesennin getting clipped by the platform.
Charlieboy like sticks to landing.
Oh my goodness, this is getting nuts.
Are we sure this isn't just 2 instances of TaskBot running together?
I don't know, but right now we got ourselves the Guts Tank sign once again. We don't know if this is a Buster Week Guts Tank. Not this time, so they're forced to hunt for weaknesses. And Charlieboy instantly finds Air Shooter. Kammesennin had to take a little bit of extra time testing charge heat. So just searching for weapons, just slightly tipping the scale to Charlieboy's advantage just for that brief moment. But once again, we got Wally 4 in the wings. The anxiety rings in what seems to be, what is this, turquoise hell?
Yeah, it looks like turquoise or teal, depending on how blue shifted your console is.
Alright, so we got Charlieboy coming up to our first screen of randomized fake floors. As you know, Wally 4, it has those fake floors. And for 2 screens, Charlieboy falls victim to one of them.
see how Kammesennin does, because this could be a significant part of the difference. This could turn the tide here.
Kammesennin falling for the same trap. Charlieboy, realizing his mistake, finds where this one particular trouble spot was, but now here's the even worse situation. You don't know which hole is the fake hole, and Charlieboy finds the hole.
Oh no, Charlieboy forgot which edges to land on.
Yeah, there are specific ledges that you can stand on safely and be able to. Whoa! I was expecting
Kammesennin
to know.
missed him too.
I was expecting Kammesennin to know a little better, but unfortunately, Kammesennin winds up making the same mistake.
Yep, Kammesennin being a buster only runner. Maybe the nerves got better of him, or he lost count of how many dots. It's pretty easy to miss.
Charlieboy is gonna take the chance to try it again, and he follows to his death the second time.
Oh man, it looks like he miscounted right down the hole again.
We're gonna see Kammesennin is able to wise up on his side, or he's gonna make yet another dip into the spiky bed below.
Yeah, it looks like they're both jumping from the third dot rather than the second one, and that's gonna. I think the race may be determined by which one finds that mistake first.
Reminder, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mega Man, not Pincushion Man. This is not what we're supposed to be seeing right about now, but the randomizer is apparently saying no to that.
Alright, looks like Charlieboy has figured it out. He's on his way up.
We're going to see Kammesennin can follow suit. Hopefully he's able to remember. He's decided to use his mouse to make sure where things are?
But he's doing it incorrectly. He's going to die again.
Woo! Well, there's nothing. Is there anything against the rules that says you can have that kind of assistance?
That's a good question. I don't remember mentioning one way or the other. It's a pretty smart move. Prop tops in the Wily. Oh, this is going to be hard to deal with.
This Wily 4 is not being particularly kind to our runners. Honestly,
Charlieboy with a brilliant heads-up play, though, and pause buffering into a damage boost to get the elevator without dying.
Well, Kammesennin, finding his mistake, finally is able to get out of the pincushion nightmare that was that screen, and now it's gonna find an interesting situation with our prop tops. Not in this screen, at least. Meanwhile, Charlieboy is coming inch by inch to the Boo Beam fight. He knows that the walls aren't Buster weak, so he's gonna have to dig for weapons to find out if that's true.
Now, I'm not sure if the heat weapon charged when you enter the room automatically fires. Was that Charlieboy testing the walls before the fight starts?
Yes, it was. And honestly, the method that Charlieboy used to test for weaknesses for the boobies, in a Buster only situation, I think I would actually kind of disallow it. He decided to check for the Metal Blade first. In a Buster only situation, you would strictly need to find the Boo Beam weakness Buster first, then check for other weapons. So once again, it's one of those kind of gray areas within the Buster only situation where you kind of think that this is okay, but it's probably not.
Yeah, we might have to call the officials of Central for a ruling on that one.
Oh boy, this match has turned into a shambles. Oh my goodness. Anyway, for right now, we got Charlieboy. We got Charlieboy dealing with the robot mastery fights, and then we got Kammesennin checking Buster for his Boo Beam turrets. Finding the good news, Kammesennin should be heading towards Wily 5 very shortly. Meanwhile, Charlieboy is well deep into the Robot Master refights.
Yep, I believe he's about to dumpster his third one and moving on. Meanwhile, Kammesennin finishes off the Boo Beams. By my estimation, I would say the lead that Charlieboy currently has wouldn't have been caused just by not checking Buster first on Boo Beams. I'm going to make a command decision and allow it. I noticed they do both appear to be going in the correct direction, counterclockwise here on the refights. Oh, I can take it back. Kammesennin went right.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that debate. Those kind of debates are kind of weird.
Well, I stand by the reasoning that it is the power of positive thinking. Counterclockwise is mathematically the positive direction. I'd call that reason enough.
Whatever floats your boat.
All right, Kammesennin making it through Heat Man just barely, and Charlieboy also. He might take a death here, actually.
Yeah, he probably could not have taken another heat hit. He can definitely take an atomic fire hit, a couple of them, but yeah, it's getting a little tight for Charlieboy. But I think he now has the room to take on Heat Man at this point. Meanwhile, Kammesennin forced to use his final E-Tank. This could be very devastating if the Wily machine isn't Buster immune.
Yeah, that could get pretty rough in a hurry. My understanding is that so far, 80% of the time, it is Buster weak. We'll see if we get that 1 out of 5 here today.
And Charlieboy is going to be our first guinea pig to test that out. And praise be to the heavenly Buster gods, it is Buster week for both phases.
They say if you listen closely, you can hear Frico's voice on the wind.
And since Kame's mic is muted, you're probably going to be hearing a lot of screams of relief for him when he finds it out. But in the meantime, Charlieboy, he's going down the victory road, and he's going to be the first to see what our Wily alien is going to be. But things can be a little sketchy depending on the health situation. But he should be fine on weapon ammo, though. Since it's Buster only, you should have plenty of weapons to deal with whatever the alien throws at you.
Yep, that's the nice thing about a Buster only run. You definitely won't exhaust all your weapon energy on the refights.
Alright, so we got Charlieboy first in our alien fight. Are we gonna see the God situation? It's gonna be Buster weak the very first go? Nope, we are weak.
No.
Yep, we are weakness hunting. And it's not heat, it's not air. Keep digging. I think
I'm a bit surprised. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Bit surprised to see both runners checking charged heat early on a couple of fights here. I'd expect them to go for that one last just because it takes so long to get a shot off.
It's the rest of the draw, but regardless of the matter, ZZ to Charlieboy, he finds that metal is the weakness, and he wins with official SRL time of 37-37, beating out the Buster-only legend, or at least the aficionado.
On a Buster-only run, that's a really impressive achievement.
Well, Charlieboy, just like Kammesennin here, is one of our our front runners of the Mega Man 2 Randomizer. He's pretty much seen it all, even though he's not as experienced with Buster only as Kammesennin is. He has just enough tools to know what to do in a Buster only situation. So if the siege just goes south for Kammesennin, you see Kammesennin, the Buster only front runner, getting beaten by someone that's not used to it. It happened in tournaments before. It just ended up happening again.
Yep, it looked like that spike drop in Wily 4 was all the difference. And sure enough, if you'd been able to Wily 2 across it, this may have been a whole different race.
Kammesennin doing the great weapons hunt, finding metal blades. It should be done in a few moments, and that is GG's on Kammesennin's end with official SRL time of 39:10. Once again, yep, that was definitely Wily 4 talking up the whole situation.
So now we're in a situation where it's going to be Kammesennin and Charlieboy with full access to weapons and items. I'm really interested to see the interplay here between the time you lose from menuing and hunting for weapons versus just the raw disadvantage you get from running only Buster.
Just excuse me for a moment as I get the next race channel set for our boys. And following that, we get our next seed for our boys. So yeah, as we wait for our runners to get set for our next race, continuing with our observations that I usually like to do in these situations, we know that Wally 4 definitely was the tie turner for this particular race, but what else were you able to observe in this particular match, Chungus? What was something that impressed you, or what was something that kind of shifted things aside from Wally 4?
Well, it looked like Kammesennin definitely had the advantage through the Woodman stage early on. Charlieboy got pretty wrecked by, as I recall, tin can stacks and Joes. Kame managed to make his way through. I think, again, just from experience with Buster only, being able to dodge the tin can hits, take a little bit less damage getting through.
Yeah, the seed early on definitely showed Charlieboy's inexperience with Buster compared to Kammesennin, but once again, it's just any given seed can just cause so much havoc. And because you notice that we also had some unfortunate deaths from Heatman in the Flashman room, thanks to the situation where since Heatman was moving so slow, and the fact that you had no access to weapons that can hit from above you, thanks to the Buster only requirement, you in a situation where you can get squeezed in very, very easily, and you saw how it affected both Charlieboy and Kammesennin.
Indeed, and another difference between the runs was Charlieboy was able to grab the juice box in the Flashman stage where Kammesennin got knocked down. That may have been, again, the big difference in this race. Because as I recall, they both went in the Wily machine with no E-tanks.
Try to make sure both our runners go to our new channel here. So what?
And question in chat, yes, my understanding is only the first round of this race will be Buster only. Second time around and third, Charlieboy will have full access to special weapons and items to maneuver through stages.
Actually, I went to the INC to confirm that. Actually, we are going to get another Buster only run here, so we're still shooting lemons for match 2 that should be coming up very shortly once our runners get themselves set up.
I'm loving it. I can't wait to see how the second one goes. If it's anything like the first one, it'll be one to watch.
But in the meanwhile, please be sure to follow our runners as they are putting up a well matched showing for you. If the first race was as tight as it was, I am looking forward to how interesting the second race could be. But then again, who knows? Any given seed can cause just as much chaos. It could be a situation where one runner will have a much more significant advantage to the other.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing about a Buster-only race is much of it just comes down to execution. Who can dodge the damage, who can get it done more cleanly. Looks like they both got their Half-Life seeds queued up. Flags look good.
Just waiting for the dot ready for our racers before we get ourselves up and running. seems like Kame is just taking a little bit of a moment to get himself settled, but we should be ready to go in just a couple of minutes. So be sure to sit tight, everyone. It looks like Kame has finally set up. We got Charlieboy waiting in the wings. It looks like it's about the time to release the flunky, so give me a quick moment.
Yep, might have been taking a second to shake off the first seed, breathe through it, get it behind them, get ready for the next one.
Just answering a quick question in chat while we were waiting. The mute is so hard to pick a favorite in the randomizer settings. Just to let you know, one of the great things about the randomizer is the custom music that is shuffled up in the randomizer, made from taken from various ROM hacks and a few official titles in Capcom's library that fits the sound font. If I had to choose one, the one that comes up to me immediately as our race begins is